We're going to focus, to begin, on the Malawi situation. My guest this morning, Matthew Pickard, who is CARE's Malawi Country Director and the Deputy Regional Director for Southern Africa, and he's in Lilongwe in Malawi this morning. Mr. Pickard, thank you very much for being our guest today.
Thank you. Yeah.
You know, it is a full week now since the cyclone hit, and it is taking a full week, really, to only begin to get a clearer picture of the scale. Can you describe what your team workers, what you're seeing as far as the conditions and situation as you're witnessing it there?
Yeah, so I think in Malawi and Mozambique, we have two slightly different situations. In Malawi, we have families who've been displaced now for 12 days from flooding before the cyclone. Who are now living in displaced camps. Many of them are living in the open or huddled in very, very congested school buildings or mosques or churches or community buildings. These are families that have had to leave everything behind. They have nothing with them apart from themselves and maybe the clothes that they're wearing. And they have been like that for 12 days. Assistance is getting through. So our teams are there on the ground. CARE's teams are on the ground in Nsanje, one of the worst affected districts. They're distributing much needed shelter equipment, tarpaulins, plastic sheeting. They're also distributing chlorine to ensure people have clean water to drink, and there is immediate food. But all of this is very short term.
Can I just jump in and ask, as you say about the people who had been displaced, and then the cyclone adding to the misery in Mozambique, we're hearing situations of rather urgent water rescue operations. People literally still clinging to trees to survive. That's not the situation in Malawi.
That's not the situation at the moment in Malawi. People have been rescued. The search and rescue is over. Now it's about sustaining life and supporting families.
All right.
In Mozambique, you're absolutely right. I mean, the scale of the devastation is enormous, and I think it's evolving every hour. As you say, we can expect numbers to go much, much higher in my experience. You know, we're hearing unconfirmed reports and stories coming out of other parts of Mozambique of people still trapped in trees, of people coming to villages and finding bodies and bodies in the rivers. And as night falls, still hearing screams of people as they're washed down the rivers. I mean, this is a tremendously huge disaster. And I think until the waters start falling, and these waters are still rising, until we can get into some of these really remote areas, we will not know the scale and the size of the damage and the loss of life. But in my experience, we can expect the numbers to go up significantly. This is a major, major disaster.
And no wonder people are characterizing this as potentially the worst in the region in decades, and we're just, I think, starting to appreciate that. So you were indicating earlier, again, if we come back to Malawi, that immediate food is there, that clean water tablets are there, that some of those drops are happening. What then are your main challenges right now?
Well, we have access. So the main challenge is getting resource. So some of the donor community here and some of the very generous public across the world have donated already. So we're able to buy many of these supplies in country and to truck them to site. But you know, the resources only allow you to do so much, and the needs are so great. In Malawi, we have over 840,000 people who have been affected by the flooding across 15 districts. It's a huge geographic area. It's a huge number. We're working with 23,000 people who are displaced, and those are the ones where we're targeting at the moment, to bring them the shelter, to bring them the water, to bring them food, and then to ensure that in those camps, which are congested, that they are protected and they're not forced into more vulnerable situations, which we know happens at time of crisis.
And let me, to conclude this time, get you to look a little bit longer down the road, because I was just mentioning that number from the UN World Food Program just earlier this morning. For Zimbabwe alone, a couple of 100,000 people, it estimates, will need urgent food assistance for 3 months, and that's just for Zimbabwe. Long term for Malawi, what are you anticipating?
Yeah, we anticipate of these 840,000 who are affected, some will need immediate food and shelter, but long term, we were just about to harvest the crops in March, April time. So much of that's been washed away. People will require some seeds, agricultural inputs in order to help them replant. And some people will require food assistance for 3, 6, 9, even some people 12 months. But we want to kickstart the agricultural recovery. We want to provide people with seeds so that they can go back. And when they go back, they've got seeds to plant. They can make the most of water, the residual water, and hopefully be able to grow some crops.
Yes.
So that they can survive.
Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Malawi, 3 of the world's poorest countries to begin with, now facing absolute devastation. And Matthew Pickard, I appreciate your telling us about it. We're going to have to keep a very close watch on this story for some time to come. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.